Hi, Brett.
Hello. It's great to be
Uh,
here. How are you?
yeah, great. I like that we met. I like that we met because I was thinking recently about one situation which happened with my friend, and you are therapist and you help people to improve their mental health.
That is right.
So it is very good conversation which I expect to be today. So tell me please a little bit how you decided why you choose this niche, why you choose to help people with mental health.
Sure. Yeah, great question. It's changed over the years, but the basic answer is because relationships are the most important thing and the most valuable thing we have. And I'm always very open with my personal story. I lost my mom when I was 7 in a car accident, and I actually lost my sister with her. They went together. And so from the very beginning of my memory, I had a very clear awareness that life is fragile and our time, our days, our relationships are all precious. And so we have to make the most of it. And it took me a while to figure out how that would translate to my career because back in the 80s and 90s, I was never a counseling client. I probably would have benefited from it, but I was never introduced to that, never had the opportunity. I had a vague awareness that it was like a thing that some people do, but it wasn't until I was finishing up my undergrad in university and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life that it finally clicked that I wanted to be a psychotherapist. And so I have a graduate degree in marriage and family therapy, and I've been working the field for 18 years now, and it's been great. I love it. I feel so fortunate that I get to have a career where I do something that feels meaningful and rewarding and actually make a living.
Yes, amazing. And especially nowadays, I think that it is so important to help people with their mental health and
Hmm.
with their mindset, because I see so many people suffer from anxiety, depression, and I see that so many driven, ambitious entrepreneurs, business owners who really know that they're meant for more, and they do so much. They try so many ways,
Absolutely.
and they just end up with being burnout and stressed and exhausted and feel depression. And recently it also observing this, so how many people I can see now that face this situation. And even prior to our meeting today, I had a call with one person who I met, and I saw that he is in that situation, and it was group call,
Hmm.
and I just had this intuition and like telling me you have to contact him now. And yes, like, and when that call finished, I didn't know him. I was first time in that group, but he just said something, and it was for me like, just you have to contact him now and speak. He needs help. And I was a bit like, like, what shall I do it now? Or maybe later, or maybe he will say like, why you contact me? Like, say, I just they just it was a bit just very quick, like, but then I said no, I'm going to do that now. And I contact him, and I just said him straightforward, do you need help? Do you want to speak to me now? If let's just jump on the call now. And I was thinking if will he like answer like or not. And he said yes. Send me the link please. And I sent, I was just listening to him, like, I think maybe 2 hours. I was
Oh,
just
wow.
sitting, yeah, and I just gave him space, and I just was sitting and listening and listening and listening, and he was just speaking and speaking. And I was just sometimes I ask him, as I was asking questions, and and at the end I was just so how his state shifted, like at the end of this conversation, it was like different person. he became life again. He said, "Thank you. You don't know what you did for me. Like I was in such a bad space, and now I feel like such a much like burden just came out of me." And like it is after that conversation, before he 8 months, he couldn't find a job. He was finding companies who
Mm,
wanted to work with me or with him, and then something would happen that he didn't get the job. And it was because his situation became so difficult, and also he became depressed because he had some offers and it just didn't work. And after that conversation, when he changed the state, and like he became again encouraged and again positive, like enthusiastic somehow, then next day he told that, "Elena, I got a job." And every day when we meet since then, he's saying me every time, "You don't know what you did for me. I'm so grateful that you called me and that you contacted me." So, and then this situation and also some other situation happened with other people who I knew. And I said, it is like, what is it like? Really, I think I this should what I have to do. I just have to help this driven entrepreneurs who know that they're for more, they're disciplined, they are very goal oriented, and they just somehow they don't know how to make it work. So I just made decision, this is like people who really need my help and who I can help. And this has got me like, yes, this is what I want to do. Because it is really such a great thing when you can really help people to change their lives.
oh
and
my goodness, yes.
and sometimes they are in the place, he said, I was in such a dark place and I couldn't pull myself out, and only you came and you understood me and you took me out of that. Can you imagine this? Like, wow. It is such a big encouragement for me. And now he's totally different person from only one conversation. And then I started remembering other conversation when I spoke with one lady, also just saw her first time, and she also was depressed. And I just spoke with her maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And she also wrote me that from the one conversation you helped me to come out of depression. And now she's successful, has her own business. So I said, yes, maybe this is something that I have to do, like to focus and just focus on these people, to help them, to get them back to thrive in life, to be excited again, and do achieve goals, but in a different way, in effortless way, when they understand the recipe of success, that it is not just by doing something hard, and in many cases it just doesn't work. We need to change perception, we have to change how we look at things, and all the changes happens from within. This is what I help my clients to learn and how they change their results.
Absolutely right. 100%. That's so beautiful. I love that story. You clearly have a lot of insight, especially like in that instance of that first gentleman. You just had a sense that he needed to connect, and so you reached out. And that's so important for all of it. I mean, I was already talking about the importance of relationships, and really it's about connection and having a sense that I'm not alone. It's been a couple years, but I feel like in many ways we're still adjusting to COVID, and the results of which left so many of us feeling isolated. In some ways, it's nice. I like working from home, but a lot of people spend a lot of time alone. They don't go into the office anymore, and they change their they change their routines, they change their habits. My lifestyle is entirely different than it was before COVID or during COVID. It was like shaking the snow globe. And for a lot of people, I would say it's worked out well for me. But there's many people we meet, and I think maybe your story was an example of that, of someone who's struggling to cope and adjust. And so when you can offer your time and your attention and validate someone in that way for 2 hours. That's a that's a long conversation. I'm sure it got very personal, and clearly that meant a lot to him. It helped him turn a corner.
Yeah, sometimes people just need this, like somebody just to be with them, like sincerely, right? Like sincerely be open to help and just listen. And this is just, it becomes enough. Very little thing, but for somebody it is so much. And this is something that I think everybody needs, that more, that human approach. Yes, because nowadays
Hmm.
everybody's so busy. I live now in UK, and I can see it is such a different culture here. Like in Ukraine, where I lived before the war started, we have different culture. Like we more communicate with our grandparents, even many people even live with their grandparents. Like we live to live with families, that everybody helping each other. My mother, I also live with my mother. We came here from Ukraine with my daughter, and my mother is very helpful. She always likes to be busy, cooking something, doing, be helpful. And here, when I came to UK, I saw that many people just don't communicate a lot with their parents. Like they send their parents to those houses for old people, and or they stay at home alone, and they just can visit them once a month, once or 2 months, for just few minutes. And I said, wow, like what is happening? Like there is no more like this connections, like real true love, true interest in each other, and how people
Hmm.
communicate. So I think it is something missing in humanity nowadays. And um, and um, when people understand that they are more and they want to achieve more, but they don't find maybe friends who understand them, or relatives who don't believe in them, and they find themselves alone, like on this entrepreneurial journey, and it becomes tough when you are alone. And this is why they need people like us to just help them and get that strength back.
Totally agree. It is lonely. Absolutely, being an entrepreneur is lonely, and the there's lots of reasons for that, but ultimately, no one else totally, really, truly gets exactly what you're facing and exactly what the adversities are. I spend a lot of time. I'm in actually 3 different business groups and a couple community groups. I go to a lot of networking events, talk to many, many people, and we can relate to each other's experience in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, only you know what you're facing. Only I know the difficult decisions that I have to make. And it can be really crippling. People are burning out all the time, and it's tough. I have an on again, off again relationship with burnout. We date for a while, then we break up, then we get back together, and it's hard to quit it. It really is. I've been struggling often myself with this, even though I know the principles and I know what is important for me. I know what is important in terms of just maintaining myself. But on a day to day basis, there's always more to do. There's always something on fire. And it's just really hard to step back and take care of yourself in those moments and connect with other people. This is what forces us into this isolation because you're just working constantly and always running from the latest thing to the next thing. And if we don't pause, if we don't recover, if we don't recharge and reconnect, then we just get emptied out and you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes we just have to take deep breath. Yes, breathe deep and just relax and just take some time, because we are not in this horse race. As we can look, some people they just like in horse, and we need to take breath and look around, and also think what we can do better for ourselves first, from the
Absolutely.
perception of self-love and self-care, and just give time just to quiet the mind, because our mind, as we are ambitious and driven people, we have so many goals, we have so many tasks, right? We plan our day every day, and sometimes our just nervous system just collapses because it is too much stress. And if we don't make any balance, any harmony, we don't do sport activities, exercises, maybe even we forget to eat. So in time it all becomes so heavy to our nervous system that it just collapses, and this is how people find themselves in deep depression and anxiety and then don't know how to get out of that.
Correct. Yep. I have often heard of being in business as a marathon, and I've actually run a marathon. It is exhausting. You do feel like collapsing, and it's just ongoing for miles and miles. I much prefer the analogy in business of running a series of sprints, because we can't just be sprinting constantly. But if you set a goal and you sprint towards it for a month or a quarter or even longer, but then as you achieve your goal, you are intentional about pausing and taking time to rest and recover, then it sets you up for the next sprint. But it can't be constant. It can't be never taking a break. Running a marathon, you fall over the finish line and you collapse for a week, and that's not good because it's not sustainable.
Yes, exactly. It is all related to self-awareness and consciousness. Yes, like looking at life consciously, not just being in that paradigms, being controlled by those programs. Right, that we have goals, we want to achieve a lot, but we have also look at what we do on daily basis, because we are habitual, right, creatures. Most of our behavior is habitual, and if we just running without putting time to observe what we do and thinking why we do what we do and why we get results which we get, and if we just continue doing that even with more force and thinking that it is what we have to do, is just push harder and do more, we will not go anywhere further. So sometimes it's just important to just take that pause and look at the situation and just start observing that this is my results, and what I do now that I get these results and what I have to change. So sometimes getting step backwards and observe and analyze that maybe I do something that don't produce me results, and I just continue doing this, that leads for just exhaustion and stress. And sometimes it is good just to take pause and be do something that makes you feel good, that you really love yourself, that you feel good, that you have that good emotions, and make decisions from that place, not from the place when you're exhausted, but just from the place when you can dream and when you can see yourself, and when you can come from that person who is like your higher version, who you are, and emotionally be connected there. And when it happens, you flip your brain to the different frequencies, so you start seeing different ideas, different ways. You are not blocked only in only one way that you see when you are stressed, or you maybe even don't see anything at all.
It's so important. I totally agree. It's it's a funny thing. The the necessity of what you're saying is so important because there's never really a good time to do that. The more busy we are, the more pressure we're under, the more stress, the more we have to set aside time. One of the things that I'm on year 4. One of the things I've learned about being in business, and my business isn't even that big yet. I feel like I have such a long way to go, but there's always something on fire. Every day I wake up, and my job, I mean, I'm a therapist, but my job basically is just to solve problems so that the business can survive.
Mhm.
And I used to think, well, if only I can get to here, if only I can get to the next spot, the next spot. And I realized, oh, no, no, there's just always something on fire. Right now, I could give you a list of like 4 or 5 things that I really would like to get done because, like everyone else, I have a bunch of half built bridges and I'm working on probably too many projects at once. And yet, I still would preach to anyone who asks, like, yeah, try to be very focused. Try to pick 1 or 2 things. Try to set your intention and get across the whole bridge. And when you do that, then it helps to manage the stress. But it's always going to be there. It never goes away. And so if we can't give ourselves permission to take a rest and live in the moment and enjoy and refresh ourselves, then you're never going to be able to continue the race. You have to pause and catch your breath so you can sprint some more.
Yes, and right. And also, I think that very important to have right attitude, because attitude is very like key. If people have right attitude, they look positive and they look in every situation to find something positive. And then they, when they don't react to things that happen, but they pause and respond, and they do know what how they want the situation to go, it will make much it will do a very big impact on the results. Because if people have negative attitude, and if they think that they are not enough, and they always look for solution from outside of them, like they can think that, oh, I need that program, or I need that, or I need
Hmm.
that, and they always are in this race because they think that they need something new. And they think, okay, if I get this, then I will be okay. And when they get that, then they say, no, I'm still not, I need that. And it is just a mindset, it is just paradigm, it is like a program, I'm not enough, which will never make person confident and start doing what he already has. And I had exactly this paradigm because I came from this society, and from Soviet Union. I was born in Ukraine, the time when there was no coaching, no mentoring, no information like this, no personal development. I didn't know what it is at all. So when I started, like when Soviet Union collapsed and the Ukraine became independent country, like opened the borders and we started getting some information, I became so passionate about and fascinated with personal development. And because I didn't have this before, I was like a I had such a big hunger, like vacuum. I wanted just to collect all the information, all the courses. So I was buying different programs, which I never even started. Like I was collecting instead of implementing. I was collecting, so I was not changing. My, like, let's say, program shelf was heavy, but I was the same. So it didn't mean any, right, anything, and it didn't have any sense. So if we look at this from the perception for entrepreneurship, and if they have this pattern, it is the same. They will look always for outside and thinking that they are not successful because they still don't have something. But if they understand that they're already enough, everybody is enough, you already have so much, and you know what to do, you just like have to start doing what you already know, and this is how results will change.
Hmm. And it's not that we shouldn't continue to invest in ourselves and each other and build and improve, but we have to find a way to be able to be okay with where we're at today. James Clear said, try to get 1% better each day. We can all do that.
Yes,
And Plato
yes,
said, never discourage anyone, never criticize anyone who is making progress, no matter how slowly. And so every day we just have to get up and do our best, and that has to be enough. And if you're not doing your best, then you can have a check in with yourself or a friend. What's getting in my way? Why am I not applying myself? I feel like I have more potential. I'm not reaching it. Okay, that's a separate conversation. But most of the entrepreneurs I meet are working as hard as they possibly can, and they're still frustrated they're not getting more done. And I get it emotionally, but the mindset has to be today I'm going to do the best I can. until the day's over. And it's going to be over way too soon, and you're not going to get done everything you wanted to get done, and that can be okay because tomorrow's another opportunity.
Yes, yes, it is very good attitude, and we have to acknowledge ourselves for what we do, and acknowledge ourselves for that intention which we have to be better, right? Because this is still 1 or 2% only of people who think, right? Who think about what they want and have goals. Because if we just ask people randomly on the street, what is your goal? They would look at you and they don't know what you mean, right? So if we look at this perception, we should acknowledge these people who want to be best version of themselves and who want to be the best. But it is important to have that self-love and that self-worth and understanding that whatever I do, it is the best in my case, and tomorrow I can do better.
I couldn't have said it any better. We can. There's always an opportunity tomorrow to do better, and I think that's a beautiful thing. That's the gift, that we can always try again tomorrow.
Yes, and another thing also, I what I noticed in these cases when people get depressed and anxious, because they think that they feel have that feeling that they ashamed because they didn't achieve what they told somebody or what they decided. Like they feel that feeling that they shame why they couldn't do, or maybe they blame themselves for something in the past. They like live more in the past, like stuck in the past somewhere. So I think that also it is important just to leave the past in the past, because when we think about the past, we allow it to become our future, because where our thoughts are, this is what we create. It is like get projected. Everything is created twice, and it first in our mind and then also in our reality. So if there is a syndrome of being in the past, we should be aware of it and just leave everything in the past there, and just know that we did the best what we could, having that knowledge and what we could there. Because today we're different people, so we cannot judge ourselves today for things which we did in the past, because we were different people there and we did not know what we know now. And this is what is the process happening, right? When we grow, we change every day. So we should acknowledge ourselves for whatever we did and leave it there. And every day just focus on today and see what I can do today better, how I can improve my results, how I can improve my habits, what I do that doesn't bring me results that I have to replace. And if we go towards that, we will get better results for sure.
It's often been said that anxiety is worries about the future because we don't know what's going to happen, and that's worrisome. Depression is worries about the past because what's done is done and we can't do it over again. And that's hard. And there's a conversation we could have about forgiveness and how you have to forgive yourself sometimes, maybe somebody else, but a lot of times it's a, a discussion, an argument that we have with ourselves. But in the simplest sense, life happens, and then we have to explain it to ourselves. We tell ourselves a story to try to make meaning of our experience. And we all have a fierce inner critic. I actually didn't know that until not that long ago, a few years ago. It's um, it's an interesting thing how many people, I think it's universal, will have that voice that says, "You're not good enough. You can't do it. Why are you even trying?" And so we have to be at least aware of that, and we have to be prepared to respond to that. And you don't have to give in to that. There's there's a there's a reason that critic exists, and it's not just to be self-destructive. It's because we have to cope with stress, we have to cope with difficulties, and one of the ways of doing that is to try to minimize it. Sometimes we need to avoid. Pain is hard. Not very many people will move towards pain voluntarily or embrace it. And same with adversity. And so sometimes that inner critic is a way that our mind tries to protect us from adversity. But if we want to move forward, if we want to climb higher and achieve more, then we have to override that and be intentional about choosing to climb the mountain, fight the dragon.
Yes,
It
our brain is just records from the past, right? And if we want to achieve big goals, and this is unknown for us, for our brain, so it is normal for our brain. This is just how it operates because it just had memories from the past. So because we want to step into unknown to the future, it will keep us back. And this is
Mhm.
when often we speak about comfort zone, because every growth needs change, and every change is uncomfortable, right? Because it moves you out of what is known for you. And this is just when understanding and awareness that it is normal to feel uncomfortable. It is totally normal, and actually, this is how we have to feel every day to grow. Otherwise, if we just step
Sure.
back every time, we will just live in the same situation, which we know we cannot make anything new.
Mhm. Yeah, we don't grow when we're comfortable. And sometimes we need to be comfortable. Sometimes we need to recover and take a rest. But growth happens when we experience stress and strain, and we choose to voluntarily embrace adversity. And there's such a thing as too much, right? When we get, if this is your comfort zone, you can go just so far, and then at a certain point you're in overwhelm. Or in mental health speak, sometimes we talk about that being in trauma. There's such a thing as too much stress, too much strain that takes us outside our capacity to adapt effectively. But if we want to grow, then we have to choose to do hard things on purpose so that we can adapt and get stronger. Whether it's mentally, in business, emotionally, we have to push ourselves. But like anybody who's been to a gym, you walk in and you find something heavy and you pick it up. And if it's
Mhm.
too heavy, okay, that one's not for you yet. Find something else. But don't pick up something that's not going to challenge you at all. Pick up the one that causes you to have to exert and strain and work hard to do the exercise, and then your body will adapt. Just like your mind, your spirit, everything.
Yes, I like how you made this example with this gym, because even in gym, if we do push-ups, we don't do it constantly. We make breaks, right?
Hmm.
So for our mental health, we also need to make breaks, and this is when we do meditation, when we just save this time to be quiet and quiet our mind, to let it rest from all these chaotic thoughts of all this mental activity, which sometimes people think that it is thinking, but it is not. Yes, so just getting this time for yourself when you just can relax, and when you can meditate, when you can just dream and fantasize. And these moments, even if it is 10-15 minutes a day, it will help your nervous system to calm down, and you will be better state, you will have more clarity. And when you quiet your mind, you let the space to new ideas to come, you can start listening your intuition. Because most of people, I think this is the big one of the biggest reasons why people are stressed today, because they so much in logic, they so much in
Hmm.
this physical reality, that they don't listen their intuition, they don't just quiet their mind to think and to listen intuition, to come from different perceptions, just to breathe and take some steps to listen themselves. Yes, just to detach from this physical reality and look inside and ask themselves, like, how I feel today, why I have these thoughts, or what makes me feel good, right? Like simple things, but it is so important for having good mental health.
It always comes back to the simple things. It's it's hard to have good mental health. Mental health is a tricky topic to feel good about ourselves and our relationships. I think if you want to describe mental health in probably the most basic sense, I've often said it's really about, can I connect to self? Can I connect to other? How can I, how good am I? How successful am I connecting with myself, my emotional world? And how well am I able to connect with you and where you're at? And if I can do both, then that's mental health because it allows me to feel like I'm integrated, right? It's really about integration. Integration comes from the same root word as integrity and also integer, right? So you put yourself together and I put my relationships together and then I feel whole and then I can have peace.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. You describe this. Yeah, I just feel like yeah, so when people communicate, and this is exactly what happened when we met, because we just met now, right? I didn't meet you before. So based on what you said now, I just applied this how we met and how we started speaking. So I was in my frequency and you were in your frequency, and initially it was like different frequency, and then now, like after we spoke, and I open to listen you and you open to listen me, and now I feel like it is very good like frequency where we are in the same channel. Do you feel
Absolutely.
the same?
Yeah, it takes a while. This happens we're not doing a therapy session, but most therapy sessions are an hour, and we've been talking a little less than that. But the thing I tell the people that I supervise a lot of new therapists, and they always say, it's frustrating because we do a lot of small talk, and it feels like we never get to the deep stuff until the end. I'm like, yeah, the best part of every conversation is always the end because intimacy, that's what we're talking about, is incremental, and small talk is kind of necessary. Not like how's the weather, how did you see the game last night? We can do a little bit of that if we need to break the ice, but conversations tend to be there's sort of a cascade or like a tiered approach where I share an idea, you share an idea, I share an idea, or a feeling and more feelings, and then we get deeper as we go. And so the further into the conversation, the more we can connect and sync up and align, and it feels really meaningful.
Yes, and I think that this the key here is genuine interest, right? Genuine interest in other person to hear and understand better.
Mhm.
That everybody is not just about themselves, but it is more about being there for other person.
Yeah. Yeah. And being authentically present.
Yeah, and this is what is I think many people missing while they're looking for help, because they just feel like they're missing that genuine part, yeah, in their life, because
Mhm.
everybody like mostly so egocentric, like they think about themselves first, and it is like if we look at masses of people are not don't have that conscious, right, to connect to people in that level, to be sincere and really be interested in well-being of others.
And people are scared. I think most people have good intentions, but it's really hard to be vulnerable. It's really hard because if I don't have a clear sense of who I am and my connection with myself, then how in the world do I know how to connect with you? I don't even know what I have to offer. I spend a lot of time talking to people just about like get to know yourself. Do you know your core values? Do you know really ultimately what's important to you? Not just in the day in the moment, but across life. And so when we're thinking big picture and back to burnout, if you don't want to be fighting burnout all the time, then you better be working on something that is purposeful and meaningful for you. And so that comes back to needs to be aligned with what I value as a person. For me, I love being able to do this work because as I said earlier, I think the relationships are the most important thing. So having a career in mental health, helping people connect to self, connect to other, that aligns for me. And so it fills me up. And I love it. I can do a lot of this without feeling burnt out. There's always a limit. Everybody has limits, but I have a large capacity because it aligns with my core values. And that's really been helpful in sustaining me.
Yeah, you do an amazing job, and people really need more people like you. So I want to acknowledge for
Thank you,
everything.
Elena.
do.
Well, it's been a
Yeah.
treat being on your podcast. I'm so thankful to have a chance to visit with you today.
Yeah, it was my pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for coming. And before we finish, I would like to ask you maybe something advice or suggestion for people who listening to us as a psychotherapist and mental health practitioner. What would you best advise for them to improve that part in their life?
Their mental health? Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, from a business standpoint, it is mindset. You have to believe in yourself. You have to bet on yourself when nobody else is going to. And you have to be able to encounter adversity and even failure and persevere because that's just part of the journey. That's okay. Strictly from a mental health standpoint, just bringing it into your awareness that it's okay to feel your feelings, especially as guys. A lot of times we have a hard time with that, but plenty of women too. We tend to just try to keep grinding and we don't really want to stop and pay attention to that. And so if you feel like you're struggling, like take some time for yourself. Take some time to connect with someone else. Much like you said as we started the conversation, if you're hurting or if you see someone else is hurting, just reach out, have a conversation. It's incredibly therapeutic to have a meaningful connection with someone else, whether for an hour or two or for years at a time with a good friend or a significant other. Don't let yourself stay isolated. If you notice that you're doing it, because most of us do that, right? When we're stressed out, we just want to pull back and withdraw, kind of turtle a little bit. Resist that urge, right? Don't listen to that critic that says no one cares, you're alone, you're a failure. It's not true. People do care. Reach out to whoever is in your life that if they were struggling, you would want to be there for them. That's the people that you should call when you're struggling and let them be your friend.
Such a great advice. I'm totally agree that because in this situation, especially when we want always to be perfect, and it relates to me a lot because my father was always
Mm.
leader. He was professor in university, and I was grown up with standards that I have to be the best. I always have to be on the top, and I was just always like show that life was me was show. I have always be on the top. I always should be good. I couldn't allow myself to come like less than standards. And it was everywhere with me, like university. I like all exams started with me. Like they
Mhm.
asked me, Elena, are you ready? And even if I was not ready, I couldn't say no. I said yes. And this is how I was
Yep.
going always first to do exams. And I had my two master degrees, and I graduated two universities with diploma of excellency. So it helps somehow, but actually what happened that I was so stressed all the time, and it was like just I was more to show up than I was myself. I was just for
Yep.
somebody, and just showing those standards, and that it causes me a lot to understand that I just have to step back to and be myself, and I don't need to show anybody anything. I just have to be and feel as I do, and whatever whatever results will be. I'm still ambitious. I'm still set big goals, but I don't care much about now what people think and what impressions I will do. I just focus just being me, and I think it helps. Yeah,
Mhm.
it helps when we just become accept our limitations and don't want to show something that we are not, because this is what causes the stress most of the time. But if we just accept what we can do and understand that we do what we can, and we want every day to be better, and it will help us to just slow down and be connected more to ourselves than to just think about others and effects which we do for other people.
Couldn't have said it better. That was beautiful.
Yeah, so yeah, really, we had such a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much. And I will like to invite you again so we
Sure, I'd
can,
be glad to come back.
yes, we can speak again because it is so important conversations. And I think people need to just understand that they're not alone. Like everybody goes through this, and we are here to help and support because we know that everyone is genius, and sometimes it
Mm.
is just 2 millimeter shift, just a little shift, like they already have so much and they know, and sometimes it just needs a little shift and they just go and become so successful and thrive.
I agree. That's it's the little things that make up the big things for sure. So, yeah,
Okay, great. So
this has
I
been
see.
great.
Yeah.
I Oh, there we go.
Oh, hello.